Hey everyone, welcome to today's webinar on how to automate some really exciting workflows in QuickBooks Online. I've got Martin and Asher with me on the line here. So before we get into introductions, I'll start with myself. So my name is Elish McCann and I lead all the content and SEO efforts here at Method. If you're not familiar with us, we're best known for being the #1 QuickBooks CRM. So obviously both Asher and myself have quite a lot of experience working with QuickBooks Online users and helping them really leverage workflow automation for the best. So with that, I'll pass it over to Martin and he can tell you a little bit about himself.
Hey guys, I'm Martin Chi. I'm a co-founder and CFO of Amica. We specialize in accounting, finance, and general business automations and integrations. And we really love helping small business owners connect their data from different systems and hopefully save a bit of time in the process.
Thanks, Martin. And with that, I'll pass it over to Asher.
Thank you. So my name is Asher. I'm one of the managers at Method. I'm the manager of the professional services team. Our core duty is to help our clients be successful using the Method platform, which is well known for its integration with QuickBooks. It's a very deep syncing integration. So I've been here for the better part of 10 years, helping clients with custom solutions and helping their businesses figure out how to operate a little bit better or things they can think about to streamline more processes and automate, along with Elish as well. That's it for my professional side. Personally, I like to travel the world and I like to go hiking with my wife and my dog.
Great, thanks, Asher. So just some housekeeping before we actually get into things. So for anyone wondering, the webinar is being recorded, so you'll get a copy of that in your inbox either tomorrow or Monday. And the slides will also be available, so you get those via email as well. And if you have any questions for myself or either of the panelists today, please feel free to just type them in to, there's a questions tab on your GoToWebinar control panel, and you can ask us any questions. We'll have a formal Q&A at the end, but if you're itching to get anything answered before then, feel free. And with that, I think we actually want to hear a little bit from our audience before we dive into all our tips. So to start things off, we're going to kick it off with a poll. So our first poll is just about to launch here, and it's around if you've leveraged automation for any of the following processes. So we have a few different workflows listed here, the first being payments. So that can be anything from like payment processing to collection to following up on payments, any kind of automation there. Please, fill that in. Of course, you can select one or more of the following, depending how much, automation you use in your day-to-day. Billing and invoicing is kind of our second option there. Signature collection and approvals is our third. Customer service workflows is the fourth option. And then, of course, we have sales commission tracking and payouts. So we're going to go into these a little bit deeper throughout the webinar, but for now, get your answers in. And it looks like most of you guys have voted, so we're just going to leave it open for a few more seconds and we'll share those results. Great, all right, I'm just gonna close the poll here and share that. So it looks like a lot of you guys have leveraged automation around payments as well as billing and invoicing, so that's great. We're gonna get into some more tips on that. And then for kind of the less popular workflows for when it comes to automation, we also have some tips to share, so we'll get into those shortly. All right. And with that, we're going to jump into kind of our first must-have automation for QuickBooks Online users. Martin, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, I'd love to. So one of the best automations that we think is available for QuickBooks users is the ability to sync your e-commerce data or your point of sale data into QuickBooks. So when it comes to Amica, some of our top integrations include integrating with Square and Shopify as well, although we do cover many other e-commerce and point of sale platforms too. And the benefit of these integrations is that it allows you to sync your transaction data really accurately within QuickBooks. And you also have a high level of depth and flexibility in the way that you might like to capture that data. So for example, you might want to map different revenue lines to different GL accounts, or you might want to tag and track certain types of sales based on product category or even location. So in particular, what this means is that because you're able to customize the way that these integrations work, it means that when you're reporting out of QuickBooks Online, you can have a much more meaningful level of data to report on. So you might want to be able to compare the performance of different locations, track costs more closely as they relate to different product categories and so on. And the other benefit of having that level of flexibility is that you might have already set up your chart of accounts in a particular way, or your bookkeeper or accountant might have done that for you. And that means you're not really disrupting any of the workflow or the processes that you might already have in place. So we can work within those parameters. And I think that's really important, the customization side of things, whenever you're really assessing any kind of integration, it's important to acknowledge that, even though businesses might be the same insofar as the industries that they operate in, they can be quite different in terms of the way they've set up their chart of accounts, and they like to do things generally within their accounting file. Obviously, you'll save a lot of time setting up these kinds of integrations. You don't have to manually grab that data from Square or Shopify and bring it into QuickBooks, via a manual journal entry or like a manual invoice. And the reconciliation process is very easy. Whether it's reconciling, transfers from the bank account, representing the merchant deposits, or just general payment clearing accounts that you might need to reconcile other payment types. Another great feature that we offer is that you can look back 12 months. So it doesn't matter if you might have missed a key cutoff date, even though the new financial year might have started, that's okay. We can go back 12 months and synchronize some of that historical data, which is really cool. And pricing wise, we do have a freemium plan. So if you're just a small business with, one location, that's completely fine. You'll be able to use our service free of charge. And then for some of those more complex integrations that you might want a high level of customization or more comprehensive feature set, we have a paying integration, which is, broadly $12.99 a month if you pay, 12 months in advance, or $17.99 a month on a month-to-month basis.
Great, thanks for that, Martin. And Asher, I know you have some thoughts on the value of a deep QuickBooks integration. Would you mind sharing those?
Absolutely, yeah. To kind of go based off of what Martin was saying, a deep QuickBooks integration is very important to get the data into QuickBooks so that you can use it meaningfully for your business. So not only does it just send data over to QuickBooks, it actually saves time. So whatever tools or apps you're using, such as Method or Amica or other apps, if it's integrated with QuickBooks, you're not going to have to put in that data again into QuickBooks once it's already in that software. So it eliminates double data entry, saving you time and money. You can focus on other areas. You can create customized workflows for your unique business, which is pretty amazing. And that data does flow back and forth with QuickBooks from a transactional and a customer point of view to get those meaningful pieces of data for reporting purposes, tracking down like what kind of categories are performing well, what locations are performing better than others, right? It increases capacity. You can do more with less with an integration that goes directly into QuickBooks, because you don't have the customer-facing reps taking it down in one place and then the back office team putting it into QuickBooks manually, right? All the data is shared across the board with an integrated solution. So it's something like, Method. It gives you real-time two-way sync between your QuickBooks software and your CRM. This means you have all the data you need, not just to operate, but to also have a deep understanding of your business, thanks to the power of a deep QuickBooks integration.
Thanks for that, Asher. And now for our next QuickBooks Online automation that we're going to look at, we're going to talk about billing and invoicing. So Martin, I'll let you take it away there.
Sorry, just unmute myself. We have this neat app called InView, which it kind of stems from the philosophy that we have at Amica, where we want people to be able to engage in accounting information quite easily without necessarily having to, let's say, log into QuickBooks Online. So this automation, it allows the user to connect their calendar with their accounting package, or connect Slack with their accounting package, and receive billing and invoicing automations and notifications. So what this means is that we will pull that information out of QuickBooks Online and create calendar instances or Slack notifications based on payment due dates of those bills. And we'll also insert a link into those calendar instances or Slack notifications so that the user can click that link and then be taken to a copy of that bill or invoice. And this is really great for small business owners who, they might be incredibly busy. They might not engage with the accounting file much or at all. So it allows them to keep on top of their payables and their receivables in a really convenient way. Like everyone's checking their calendar every day, whether it's just for general scheduling or meetings they might have. And, if they're reminded of a bill that's due, or they're reminded of an invoice which might be coming up to be due or might be overdue, it allows them to more proactively engage with that information, whether it's making sure that bills are being paid on time, or whether it's, giving a friendly reminder to customers to say, hey, there's an invoice that's either coming up for payment or that's overdue for payment. So it allows them to interact with that information and also, influence outcomes of their business, staying on top of bills and staying on top of invoices. And the app is also really great for bookkeepers and accountants too, that might be managing a few small businesses. So, you'll get notified of these bills and invoices, in your calendar, and it allows you to engage with your client in a way that's very convenient and efficient. So you'll receive you can see your calendar. There might be a large invoice that's due to be paid, for your client that might be overdue, and you might be able to call them and remind them and say, hey, this large invoice is overdue. You might want to call that client to chase it up. And yeah.
Sorry, anything else to add there, Martin?
No, I was just going to say, yeah, we think that it's going to be a recurring theme where people, are able to engage and interact with accounting information beyond having to specifically log into an accounting file. We think that's kind of the way of the future.
Definitely. It doesn't need to be this scary kind of black box that everyone's afraid to touch.
No, not at all.
All right, sweet. We're going to move on to our second poll for the audience. And this poll is just around, what kind of financial business documents are you creating on a regular basis? So I know we just talked a good amount about invoicing, but we also have estimates as well as reports as kind of options on the poll. Again, you can select multiple answers if they apply to you. Yeah, and it looks like we're getting a good chunk of participants on this poll, so that's great. We'll leave it open for just a few more seconds to let any kind of stragglers participate as well. And then, yeah, we'll share the results with everybody. All right, it looks like the majority of you guys have gotten your answers in, so I'm just going to leave it a few more seconds before I close the poll and share those results. All right, so it looks like invoices is kind of a big part of everyone's day to day, which is great to see, and potentially, there might be a fit for Amica to potentially help you automate some of your invoicing work, which who doesn't love that, right? So thank you all for voting, and we'll go back to just our slides here. Okay, great. So Asher, my next question is around payment automation. What kind of tips do you have for our audience today?
Okay, payment automation is the best gateway of a business to introduce true online customer self-service. Not only that, you can also set up true automation. Let me very briefly discuss what I mean by that. So with, let's say you're using Method CRM or another application that has a portal that clients can sign into and see their transactions and pay them, you can obviously set up a payment gateway of your choice for processing of those payments. And the value of that is you're giving the clients the option to pay those bills themselves. Like, hey, let's get on top of that client to pay that big invoice, but also what's the options they have at their availability. Another thing you can do with automation of payments is recurring payments. Let's say you have like a contract with the client, you go and you service something yearly or monthly, whatever it looks like. You can, with the power of some customization, set up recurring payments inside of Method. And that can just be based off a schedule. It could be based off of terms of a contract or specific dates of an invoice or an estimate, whatever that looks like.
Great, thanks, Asher. And our next automation that we're going to look at for QuickBooks Online users is actually around e-signature, capture, and approvals. Asher, I know you have some thoughts on this topic. Do you mind sharing?
Yeah, for sure. So that poll was amazing. A lot of people automate invoicing, and I think it was like 50% estimates as well. That's also very powerful. A lot of clients want to automate more of this, and one way that you can do that, again, through online self-service options for a client to do themselves for your business, is getting some form of way for them to accept a proposal that's sent to them or accept some form of contract or terms to a scope of work, which then leads to that invoice, which then leads to that payment, right? And that revenue. So setting up something like an e-signature widget in Method on on the portal or on an invoice that you want to send out to a client, it actually gives you the power of literally allowing someone to accept that document or that proposal that you're sending out. It's approved, it's signed with a lot of metadata to make it legit. And then you can move on with the rest of the process. You can even automate the creation of the invoice. You can even ask for a deposit at that moment when they accept it, right? Using the same types of automation tools we've just been discussing with payments and payment gateways.
That's great. Thanks, Asher. And next, we're going to move on to just our last kind of must-have automation for QuickBooks Online users before we jump into Q&A. So this one is going to be around how to automate commission tracking and payouts for your sales team. So Asher, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, absolutely. So commission tracking isn't the easiest thing for businesses to keep track of. Obviously, it's usually done by either a sales manager or the director of finance, someone in a role where they got to just sit there and look at the numbers and make sure it's all right to make the right payouts. And usually it comes down from invoice data. So when you're looking at the invoice data, you have to skim through every little piece of information to understand, what items do I have to pay commission out, how much for that item, how much for that sales rep, and have just a bunch of formulas and macros set up probably in Excel. And those can change, and people can copy and paste into the wrong cell and make a mistake and overpay or underpay sometimes. There's a lot that can go wrong with commission payout. So with Method, you can create a customized commission tracking solution, which we have delivered across various different industries. It's usually the same general idea, but as Martin pointed out earlier, each business is actually unique. Everyone does everything their own way. So like, even though you're tracking commissions, what exactly are you doing today? What do you need to keep track of? And how is that helping you pay it out? Could be as simple as just looking at the invoice total. It could be as complex as considering any kind of refunds or RMAs or credits or coupon codes that people put out on Facebook. So like setting up all those business rules, keeping track of it inside of Method will actually do all the work for you, make sure the numbers are right, and help in the payroll process.
Yeah, that's definitely not a calculation you want to mess up and have to cop to. So definitely a good place to automate. That's great. And before we move into kind of our formal Q&A, we've talked a lot about Method and Amica. So I think both Martin and Asher are going to give you guys a quick run through. So Asher, do you want to start us off on how Method helps extend the power of QuickBooks Online?
Yeah, for sure. So one of the main things that helps expand the power of QuickBooks Online through Method is obviously the two-way sync. And with that, the amount of power you have due to the data you have inside of your customer-facing platform, your user-facing platform. So your customer service platform that you're using, you have whatever data you need from a sales perspective and servicing your customers. You also have a little bit more. You have some financial information from Method as well. Whether or not certain people need access to that, that's your choice. You can set up permissions, but what matters is the data is there, so you can do something meaningful with that data. With that, you can create customized solutions. You can create, automated workflows. You can improve anything with capacity-related issues. Due to the COVID pandemic, a lot of businesses had to shift digitally. There was some turnover around the world as everyone learned about the Great Resignation, but then with that comes some opportunities. You can then talk about what tasks can we truly automate so that people save time and spend it somewhere else.
Definitely. Thanks, Asher. I think we can move on to the next slide here. So again, if you want to start and try Method for yourself, we do offer a free 30-day trial. So you can feel free to start that at method.me. All right, moving on to the next slide here. Martin, I know you're going to tell us a little bit about what Amica can do for QuickBooks Online users.
Yeah, so as mentioned, we work with a lot of e-commerce and point of sale providers. We have free plans there. And, as Asher sort of alluded to, we really like to enrich, QuickBooks Online with accounting information coming from these sources. And really giving the user the ability to customize things in a meaningful way, so that when they're reporting on this information, it's actually giving them some useful insights about their business. Some of the other things we do at Amica, we also offer some automated reporting. So if you're wanting to receive reports from some of these sources, we can automate that straight to your email, so that you're receiving them on a weekly basis and keeping on top of trends within your business. And as it comes to InView, again, that's a really nifty app for people that are time poor and are just wanting to engage with accounting information in a really kind of light touch, convenient way. Everyone's looking at their calendar every day anyway, so you may as well also look at some other information that might be able to help you to be a bit more proactive about making decisions and taking different courses of action within your business.
Definitely. Thanks, Martin. All right, and with that, we're going to move into our formal Q&A period. So again, if you have any questions, please send them our way. So our first question is from Mary, and they are wondering, how much help do you get with connecting the automations? Maybe, Mary, connecting the automations to what? Like to QuickBooks Online? Is that what you're asking? Yes, okay. So yeah, any kind of tips for Mary in terms of, where to get started with these automations as a QuickBooks Online user?
Yeah, so from a Method perspective, Method already connects to QuickBooks Online. That's part of the sign-up process. And outside of that, there's other ways that we can connect to QuickBooks Online, such as through Amica and other third-party sources that may connect to QuickBooks Online for whatever other data and platforms you might already be using today. So just because one of us might not cover everything, there might be something out there that one of us can touch upon or connect to or give insight about.
Yeah, and I think I'll add to that. In terms of helping you to connect, we put a lot of effort into our support team. They're all kind of certified insofar as the knowledge of QuickBooks Online. A lot of them are also actually certified practicing accountants. So, we wanted to make sure that, when people are receiving support, they're talking to people that actually understand accounting and bookkeeping more generally, and are actually genuinely able to help you get the most out of those applications, as they relate to your business.
That's great. I know, no knock to QuickBooks here, but I know sometimes their support team isn't super helpful. So it's great to hear that Amica and Method kind of have resources for anyone who's stuck. All right, we have another question here from Beth. It's kind of a long one, so I'm just going to read it out here. So they're wondering, can you track an employee / contractor time by project and transfer that data to invoice billing for the customer and payroll time in QuickBooks Online for payroll contractor pay? If so, can we pick one or the other or both to pass that to QuickBooks Online? We flat fee bill as well. So I know that's kind of a use case there, but any thoughts for Beth on the spot, guys?
Yeah, I can touch up on that. So the data would definitely go back and forth between Method and QuickBooks. It's got to be tracked some way financially, regardless. So either you do it through Method or through QuickBooks, data is going to sync back and forth regardless. Getting that data into QuickBooks, if you don't really have a way of doing it now, that's when we get involved and have that sort of conversation internally to understand more of the business process, right? Because we don't really want to just give an answer without really knowing how you operate first. But at the end of the day, the data is going somewhere financially. So basically, it's got to be in QuickBooks somewhere. We can keep track of that somehow, some way, and then help you with that contractor pay or that payroll. It could be as simple as setting them up as a vendor and then creating a bill for them, right, inside of QuickBooks, and then tracking that itemized portions of the bill towards the customer or all of it towards the customer, right? And then use that for billing purposes later on the customer invoice. Hopefully that
Great.
answers.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Asher. Beth is just wondering, as a follow-up, is there an extra fee during setup?
The only extra fees would be speaking with a member of our professional services team, so a member of my team, to actually help you with whatever unique business needs you have with whatever QuickBooks and Method can offer out of the box today. If that's not being met with your specific needs, we would get involved. We customize Method and change the way that data is being entered or how it works so that we can get it into QuickBooks in a way that you need it to work and give you a nice little workflow for your team to understand how to get from A to B so that all that's tracked.
And to Beth, if you're not already a Method user, with every free trial of Method, you get 1 free hour with Asher's team. So you can kind of pick their brains on that. All right, we've got one more question before we let you all go. It's from John. I think this one's going to be more for Asher. So John wrote in saying, I thought Method was just a CRM. Is Asher saying it is also an invoicing/payment collection app?
Yes. So we are a CRM, and we do have a really deep integration with QuickBooks. We do have a patented sync engine, meaning we get a ton of data that we get from QuickBooks and can send back to QuickBooks. We have the same kind of workflows that QuickBooks can offer. Not everything is exactly the same, especially in how some things might work inside of QuickBooks, specifically like clicking on certain things and how things line up. But yes, at the end of the day, you can collect invoices or create invoices in Method. You can collect payments in Method that will be sent to QuickBooks for you automatically. Yes.
I think too, John, what's nice about Method and kind of how we stand out from other CRMs is that we are really, we have this powerful automation platform that you can tailor to your needs, thanks to kind of the no-code back end of the product. So hope that answers your questions. With that, we're going to wrap up for today. So thank you all for joining us today on the webinar. Huge shout out to Martin and Asher for their awesome tips. Again, you'll be getting the recording probably tomorrow or Monday, depending what time zone you're in and stuff like that. So stay tuned for that. Feel free to share it if you found this session helpful. And again, thanks everyone for your time. We'll see you. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
See you later.
Thank you.